is it in somewhere? By the way, I forgot the program CS code.
Get him on tape.
Yes, enemies listening, guys.
Is this hierarchy used anywhere in the world? Other in use cases?
Yeah. Yep.
Didn't those civilizations die? I'm just kidding.
Actually, no.
Purely diplomatic, like or democratic, early democratic societies were hierarchical, I believe. Like in Greece, there was no head of the Senate or the whatever their parliament was.
But one question to you, can I ask you for some, can I transform this into a feedback room?
Yeah, it'd be awesome. I have a feedback.
Yeah, because already I think one where I really would like to have your voice. Today we changed from, you know, for joining the meeting you had to sign in. How did this feel to you? Strange or?
I like that. Let me just mention my opinion. I liked it. I like the fact that I was able to get in. Many other meetings I haven't been able to. I still have issues with verifying my phone number because there is another account and you Felix know about it. That's why I haven't been that much active also besides family time on Saturdays. But it's other than that, the signing is great because it's just straightforward. You just put your name, tell who you are, and the system let you in. So it's great. I love it.
For sure there are some contra voices, no?
I like the form as well. I think it was easy. It worked perfectly. Yeah.
Because in the...
When I get asked to register for Zoom, I give them the finger.
Yeah, the extra step, extra registration.
I didn't like it either.
Just another wall to jump over. I've jumped over enough
Seriously.
walls to get here already.
There was a link last week, wasn't there? Just a straight link that didn't require the sign in.
Exactly.
There was a portal.
Yeah.
Wormhole.
Last
I
week
figured
we
out
jumped
how to
over.
copy and paste the bits from the URL so that I didn't have to do the registration, but yeah.
I would have been here 10 minutes ago if it were not for that dastardly registration.
Because I saw on the Miro board in the center, somebody was not happy at all about the registration.
Somebody was very mad.
And I just, okay, it's never nice, it's never easy to find a situation where everybody is agree, but I would like to hear from you guys to keep it or to change it, to take it off.
Hey Felix, what is the reason behind that? Why did you decide to put a sign in?
The benefit
to help people.
This came good that we asked this. This came because Danny, he posted the announcement for the meeting on Telegram, and he asked me to make the registration that there's no scammers can't jumping in or whatever, or some I don't know, whatever bots.
Okay.
Maybe maybe on the Discord registration we could post just the meeting ID and passcode.
Maybe that's better, yes.
And so we can have the best of both worlds.
Yeah,
Thanks, Jacob. Bye.
I didn't know how much this was being talked about on Telegram. I kind of had more of the feeling like you had to have kind of made the step into the Discord servers to even know about this, but I don't, what do I know?
That was new this week.
Yeah, community gossip is crazy. It's all over the place. And some of it's
Did you know
nonsense.
all those people would be here?
It was awesome having such a good size crowd today. We had what, 8 or 10 people minimum in the proposals circle.
It went really well too.
It was really, really nice.
I saw by all the rooms, they were quite harmonic by the participant. And another thing, the intro. I think since 2-3 months we play a little bit about around with the intro without finding really a good solution.
That's all right. It's a work in progress. You know, it's not perfection. It's the pursuit of perfection. Perfection is unattainable.
Tavo looks like he has something to say.
No, I just
He's like, shut up, man.
Timo is on his
Miro board.
Is it recording? Is it recording?
I finished with the Miro board. Yeah, I was bringing some texts from what is Catalyst and why it exists. I brought them from the Zoom meeting to the Miro board and just finished. And now I'm like, ooh, finally done. It was quite a great discussion, and I again learned that I am so bad at like trying to explain what we are going to do here. But I like the way that Om and Seo took the like a lead in guiding with questions, and then just the stories started to evolve.
And I think the organic aspect of all of this is kind of what cuts through the tension and makes us be able to really come together. And we can laugh at the stupid little roadblocks of breakout rooms or whatever, but we get past it and we figure out what we're trying to do, right? Or the Star have, I believe.
Indeed. Hey, I see a lot of pictures in the middle. What's good, there is a thing. I don't know, is this okay, ask first.
Randall, were the proposals all existing in the funds already? Were they existing proposals that was it like a pitch type of thing, or was it new ideas and that sort of thing?
I've intentionally tried to make it not a pitchy thing. It feels like it creates so much pressure. So I've worked to really make it a conversation, and not necessarily from proposers, but just like I think today we had 3 different projects who are current proposers, or 2 that are current proposers, and then Mike talked about his proposal, a proposal idea. I don't know how much he's captured it as a official Catalyst proposal in the idea scale thing, but yeah, some of each. A short answer to a short version of a long answer.
Thank you.
And we had Mercy, and we had George and Jacob talking about, of course, Mercy is talking about WADA and some of the initiatives that they're doing. And George and Jacob were talking about their website that's all about creating more interactions and information about the Catalyst proposals, as opposed to just like showing the facts of what the proposals were. And then Mike was talking about essentially finding a way to level up what successes we've had here in the Swarm, and bring it up to the level of being a enhancement to as it already is, in my opinion, but bringing it maybe toward the place where it can become an official enhancement to the Catalyst process, and start to certify projects as Swarm certified or Swarm approved, which I thought was really interesting.
This brings a little bit also to a question what Ivo said, because also, to be honest, behind the scene, during the time just we arrive here, it's quite chaotic. So for today, for example, it was not sure who is hosting the Kickstarter circle, for example. And it's quite a mess, because I think what is very important to keep it organic, but for example, what Randall said and what Ivo wrote, we see already that some structure should be added on it to move forward also. How would this look like for you?
If we open up the Discord server, Catalyst Swarm and Sessions, there are some roles that did came organically, but there is no real structure to that yet. We just like the core. I didn't even know that. Mike didn't even know that. It's just one day we had the core there. But the idea behind that was people who again, it sounds like a bad thing. Like we decide what rooms or breakout rooms we should have. And people do ask us, say, what should we have, talk about this and that. And then we come either to like, we decide ourselves too, like, do we want this to happen in this week, or we want to have this organic like explosion of what we already have here, a bit evolve before we introduce new rooms and breakout rooms. Like for example, if Governance Alive would want to jump up in here right now and then say, hey, we have this kind of discussion, let's get everybody from Swarm who is interested. That would kind of break out what we already have, because some hosts might want to go and jump into that and then kind of collapse the already existing rooms, which are actually already working. So
collapse in the sense of combining in a good way, or collapse in the sense of failing?
In a sense of failing for this week. That perhaps, for example, Randall, you're doing this proposal circle, and now there is a Governance Alive coming in and say, hey, we are going to do some decision on that topic, or we want to put that, and then you're like, I have something to add value there, and perhaps drop your facilitator role in order to get the live action between these people. And who's gonna take the proposal circle then, and that is like, it's quite hard to figure it out in 1 week. Like message comes in, you have 2 days to decide, and like, holy shit, we just don't want to like make it even more chaotic as it is.
Well, maybe we should start planning the circles 2 weeks in advance, so they stagger.
Just for context, before we start solving that problem, I admit that at the moment we started our call 2 hours ago, I had no idea whether I would have 1, 2, 3, or 0 participants in the proposal circle, and I was completely ready to drop it. At the same time, we had nobody for the Kickstart circle who ended up doing that and did the just-in-time organization work.
I think things that are supposed to work out will work out.
I think it was because the design of all the Swarm is extremely dynamic and flexible. And like we said, for example, before, the Swarm never can fail. We can fail for 1 week, for example, but after check, we got directly the restart already, and we are able to adapt really fast to it. But now we see already, for example, we said since the beginning, this stuff is owned by the community also. It's you who decide also, hey, what we're gonna do with all this. And that we really transform it into a very first idea of a decentralized decision-making process.
Yeah.
And we got to feel that out. We can't say off jump automatically it's got to be this way. We kind of swimming through feeling it out.
When we fail, we learn. When we learn, we succeed. So when we fail, we succeed.
In that sense, can I propose something before, which is creating some fundamental roles for next week. After these breakout rooms, we come back together, and then we show you few roles, what we had in mind, why we had in mind. Everybody can give their feedback on is it correct? And another thing is, would it okay if I scrape all the names from the Discord and also put it on a mirror board so we can visually start dragging and dropping these names around and make a visual representation what we think collectively think what is a swarm structure.
Works for me.
But again, don't limit ourselves. We were discussing whether or not to set time limits today. I said, just let it go, let everybody come back naturally. And we pretty much ended up back at the same time. No one felt rushed in our circle. I don't know about any others.
Yeah, y'all
Yeah, it
hung
was
up on
nice
us.
not to feel rushed.
You kicked
That wasn't
us
me.
right out.
Because for me, it's quite important to start this conversation already, because for Fund 6, we're gonna make a swarm proposal. So which names are on this proposal? Which name has which role? Because we need to figure this out a little bit. And I know when we make, for example, the swarm proposal with 3 people, a lot of people would feel offended, and they would be right even, because they would say, hey, but I participating since a month, since 2 months. Maybe not like others, but hey, do I deserve a place anyway on this proposal?
15 wouldn't be a bad number to have on that proposal. And it'd be great to be able to say, we have 2 different people that can serve. We have 4 different people that can serve in the proposals circle. And it's not, we're relying exclusively on one. We're the swarm. We flex.
You know, the one thing about putting a bunch of names on the swarm proposal is, you know, and I don't know how y'all feel about it. I've heard a lot of people really rag on the kudos system, but, you know, nonetheless, the kudos system works in the sense that it does catch your attention. And so, you know, if you've got 20 people or however many people listed on the swarm proposal, then there goes your kudos for the next 3 weeks. Right? You only get 1 kudo a day, and to give it a thumbs up by giving it a kudo means you're giving away 20, you know, and that may be hard for people who take it seriously. And like I said, I don't really have an opinion on it, but I do notice it, and I do pay attention to who's getting attention. And I've noticed, you know, what it costs me in my accumulated kudos, you know, when I give a thumbs up on something.
I think you can do an individual on a group proposal, just 1 kudos. Like if you hold it down, it'll start giving 1 to each proposer. But I'm pretty sure you can give 1. Don't quote me on it, but I'm pretty sure you can.
That could be true, and I wouldn't know. So.
I don't remember how kudos worked. I used it almost a year ago, and then stopped using it.
I know in my category in Fund 3, I had the highest kudos of any proposal, and it did not pass. In fact, it was low. I think there was a little misunderstanding of my intentions at that point, and there were 2 very important proposals.
Oh, a little misunderstanding.
Anyways, there are 2 other very important
$100 to
proposals
get
that
them
were
back in
funded.
Catalyst.
Some people, Drake, were sure that you used all of your kudos on your own proposal.
Well, you can't do that though. You can't give yourself kudos.
We figured you stole Sophia from Singularity Net and had her just giving you kudos.
She stole my heart. I don't know about stealing her.
The only time I used kudos, I gave all the kudos in one moment to one person. So in this kudos chat, there was for 2 minutes only blah blah gave kudos to blah blah. And this was quite funny. But I never saw the utility of this kudos.
Something I wanted to read that I didn't read earlier was her message today, which was the doors will be open to those who are bold enough to knock.
I am curious about how the circle went for Fund 6 improvements. I'm seeing a very deliberate looking timeline and process. How much was that effective for you guys, Dominic?
It was effective in a sense that we learned a lot. So
Does that mean you failed and learned a lot?
I wouldn't say that we failed, but well, this process that I've used for this circle is usually for a group that knows each other and has worked together for quite some time. And well, this was not the case for today. So and
makes a big difference, huh?
Yeah, but so the learning here is to adapt the process a little bit for next week. But the discussion itself was very good, and I think we found some good points. I forgot them all right now because my head is kind of I'm done for today. But in regards to not only discuss but really find solutions and make kind of a swarm proposal to the community. I think that was definitely a step in the right direction, and I really enjoyed the conversations, and I think we go ahead and do kind of this stuff the next week or in one of the next weeks again.
Yeah, since Swarm started, this has literally been my best Catalyst experience as far as community engagement and real positive emotional energy. You know, Discord just a lot of at each other because you're not looking each other in the eye, you're not fully understanding each other.
And also to have a process, an underlying process that kind of structure the discussion and helps to keep focus and helps to have the goal in mind. And well, we have to figure out how this can work for our community. But I think experimenting on it is definitely.
We're doing it right now, baby.
Yeah.
When the people participating in the session have the intuitive knowledge of effective process, it smooths that whole conversation for everybody, in my opinion. On a topical note, Dominic, you might enjoy the conversation we had with Mike in the third of the proposals circle. Watch for that recording.
I will.
Beautiful. Does this conclude our session for today, guys?
And for next week, some suggestions, what you individual point of view at the channel, what would you like to see?
I would personally like to just see more of this, going at it, figuring out where the pitfalls lie and how to overcome them.
Same with me. Yeah, same.
Yeah, I just want to mention the importance of all of us to pass by the surface circle. I think it's great. We all of us have we have to deal with the deadlines, the stresses for things, and thinking about your brain, your balanced life is very important in this type of activity. And the results provides with Martin did a great job today. Even we had Marcus, no, not Marcus. Well, we have other two members of the group doing awesome input, providing awesome inputs. And again, all of us, we need to think about balance of our lives, family time.
Yeah.
That's key. So Martin, would you give us a feedback on that? That would be awesome to hear, because I know all of us need some time to reflect what we are doing and look for effective ways to be productive.
And there, Butterfly, well, Derek here posed a nice question. And this we are thinking about already since a certain time. What happens if we have 2 circles or 3 circles with exactly the same topic?
Same purpose.
And later you're gonna have a look what happened with different people in different circles when they discuss exactly the same topic, and then bring the outputs even together, because I think this could be quite interesting to see what happened.
This isn't just a blockchain experiment. This is a social experiment. This
So absolutely.
Mhm.
Maybe more so.
What do you think? Would this be interesting for next week? Just to try?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is it engineered? Wouldn't it just happen spontaneously from time to time?
We have had some converging circles, like we started in different places and ended up the same place.
Yeah, I've really tried when I've come to the Swarm sessions. I've really tried to, go in the groups where I know the least number of people. Because it helps me a lot. Because I don't, if I'm always talking to the same people that I talk to through the week, I'm a little suspicious of being in an echo chamber, and I just, I want to know, I want to know what's really going on.
Leaving this
More and
group.
more, with more and more people showing up, what do you all think about doing it more open space style, where you don't pre-plan what's going to happen, but have people sign up and have it much more democratic as to what topics and breakout rooms and things we create, and then whatever happens, kind of in that vein?
I love the
Available
idea of
structure,
keeping it
not
organic.
enforced structure.
Yeah, I just don't want to spend an hour each session plotting out what we're going to do every time. But yeah, keeping it organic as possible, damn sure.
At least have the space for things like that. If someone comes up with a cool idea, why should you wait for next week?
And because at least for me, it's an open space. It's just that the topic, which is presented on Saturday, is mostly evolved during the week. When people reach
There's
out,
only one topic.
when people reach out and say, hey, can we like Martin, he reached out to us, said, hey, resurface, can I do stuff like this or something? So it's exactly the same, just as it happened in a longer time frame, so that you can prepare some things. So it's a mix between pre-designed but open space anyway, because everybody knows you want the circle, do your circle.
And I think what we were talking about earlier about making this the chill out room would be more beneficial. So if somebody didn't want to be in the main room, they could come back here and then figure out what other breakout room they wanted to go to. And that we are all going to land back here anyways. So we might as well be chilling here waiting for everybody,
That makes sense.
And for our room, it makes sense to have a follow-up next week. Even some of us want to prepare this during the week together. Just to summarize what we have done today, and then go ahead next week and probably with different people or new people, so that we don't sit in our own bubble and discuss the things with the same people. It's also cool to see if there are kind of circles that develop over time, or what is inside the circle develops over time, and be open for newcomers and catch them, but also see some progress.
Yeah.
Did we get recordings of all the circles today?
When you recorded your rooms, yes.
If I was the one in charge, I messed it up.
I remembered when you started recording that for Doctor.
But Sophie, you wanted to mention?
Yeah, I like this the format that it is half organized and a bit more planned, and I do really hope that the open spaces will also be there and continue to happen, because that's also really nice and more low barrier, and that's really important. But what I've seen over time with Swarm, that it also offers a place specifically for certain things that are happening in the community that kind of deserve a little platform, even for a week or two. And sometimes that was also enough, right? It just needed a place to get some people together, a place that is organized, but that also allowed, a certain group that wants, like, oh, we want to get together and discuss this thing, but we also want to make it open for others to join in. And it has really offered like that in a dynamic way, because it changes over time what that is, right? Some moments there's more focus on proposers, maybe now because there's voting. A couple of weeks ago we were in a different phase. There was a focus on community advisors and getting them on board because they needed a place, right? And it changes with, but it does require those people to know that, yeah, I can go there and organize this thing and there will be some structure that I can put in place. So I think that's nice, that sort of balance between.
I agree.
Totally agree. Also, I see, for example, a lot of value with Dominic's Fund 6 improvement circle, because Fund 6 is coming. And when there are people already sitting together and say, hey, what needs to be better for Fund 6? And in these groups, they can create already maybe some nice ideas for a challenge or a proposal or whatever. So this to catch already also a little bit is just in kind time content, but give it away also that the conversation can have actually also an impact in the situation around us. So for me, it would be quite interesting to, for example, to say, hey, okay, what happens if we next week we have 3 Fund 6 improvement circles? Because everybody will have another focus. You could say, okay, this one is for this one is for that, or this one is for this, but they are all for the same goal. And just let's see what's happening with this. And even there, we could stay totally open. We have the Discord channel. We can have discussions. We even can vote for stuff like we did with the town hall questions. So you say, okay, but about which topic do we want to discuss? Because it's quite difficult to figure something out like this in a meeting right now. But hey, we have 5 days, or even 10 days. Even don't need to be there next weekend.
I see one face and one no face that I'd love to hear just a perspective on today's circle that you were in. What did you like? What did you think could use improvement? Darko, Derda.
Honestly, as people do start coming in, there's for me, of course, I do my research and I read, I watch things, but coming in like first glance, there isn't a place for somebody to go to that is a starting point where they can learn what the swarm is. And we that's a discussion that we were having, where it was a school basis, but we're still in the earlier parts of it, where for me, I figured it out, but for somebody else, the understanding of what funds are, what swarm is, what catalyst is, for somebody just coming into the environment itself, having a room to go to. Hey, everybody who's new, go ahead and go to this room. We'll set up introductions. You can ask your questions, so on and so forth.
Yeah, I think that's the first use of open spaces, is for people to ask the random question that's just in their head.
The first swarm I attended, we spent 30 minutes on that and didn't have much time to dig into the meat, and being able to have a place for that onboarding and then get those people introduced and then feathered into the existing circles and conversations could be a way to parallel path everything and create some efficiency that we didn't know how to do when I started.
We're getting there step by step. And in fact, we have to run into the barriers to know we have them.
Yeah, it's funny that sometimes at the start we did have these rooms like, hey, when you're in a loss, then join here. But at some point we felt like nobody used it, and then we kind of cleaned it up. But lesson learned: never clean up your stuff. What was suggested in the first place?
Because I mean, that was that week. We had twice the normal number of people this week.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about time. And obviously everybody's got to go when they have to go, but if time is spent on something more than was planned, I don't really care about that. I just kind of assume y'all are going to be lifers in this, and we've got time. I mean, I'm a lifer until I'm not. I told my partner, 2 years and we'll see what happens. That's kind of, I'm halfway there, so.
Derda?
Because what Tivo said before also, that for example, the starting point, this entry point where you're speaking about Darko, we called it newcomer and everything. So but never somebody wanted to join. Because when you, this is quite difficult, at least for a lot of people who are new into it, they want to show that they are new into it. They want to be directly a part of it. So they jump directly into the cold water instead of say, hey, okay, slow down, come on, take my hand. I bring you in step by step. Look how the things are going on.
Yeah, the first thing I did was sit back and watch. I didn't try to jump in for free, you know? No, I'm talking about Swarm, I'm talking about Idea Scale, Catalyst in general.
But I do like the idea of having Swarm Circle at some point. But then again, is a Swarm Circle like perhaps we for the upcoming days we could start for them like in 3 days figure out some kind of like discussions we could have and also make some kind of voting or decision in the Discord about. But yeah, like if we make a Swarm Circle, is it about, because everybody has their own take on what is Swarm, and that's also who is going to facilitate that now. When I think about Swarm, I'm thinking like, holy shit, how do we connect the entire Cardano community and all the other blockchains and Polkadot and all the other nations? But for some people, the Swarm is just how do we bring small people of like proposals, advisors together, and so like how do we facilitate that circle and which is the right answer to that?
Because there's a reason why in this presentation of the Swarm, there's a reason why we wanted everybody to name it, because since month we try to find the definition what Swarm is. And we don't arrive to nail it, because this is the beautiful thing for it. It's the people, at least. Swarm is a network, it's the people.
And it can be evolving and changing as we go.
It is, and all the time. So nobody of us is able to make a definition of the Swarm as whole, only his individual interpretation of what it is.
But I really loved that we started with the reading of the, I don't know what those were. Were they mantras? Were they?
It's the Swarm mantra. I've nicknamed the Talte Swarm.
I really like that mantra. It's so spot on with everything.
It really set the stage for us, I think.
And at least this text comes just modified a little, but at least it comes from the Northman Guide. Which is a group of master craftsmen in Scandinavia.
Very cool.
Yeah, very intelligent artisans.
Oh, they are amazing. Know some of them, and it's just amazing stuff what they do.
Nice, that's good.
Those Norse, they aren't just barbarians.
Oh no, they're artists.
I want some of their mallets. They have great mallets.
No, it's really high quality craftsmanship on really old style, but on a quality that is just simply amazing.
My original family castle is named in Old Norse, or the area, the village outside of the castle, Dingval, which means field of the thing. The thing would be my chief at the time. It's Wizard of the North type deal.
And what do you think also? Because mostly the circles we have is by people who reach out to us, or discussions we have between us already. And I would like to see it more open also, because for a lot of people, I think that maybe they don't allow themselves to come, but I think there are some amazing ideas spinning around in the community about some really interesting topics for some circles, maybe.
I think the whole video conference face-to-face is, I mean, I guess people are getting more used to it with FaceTime. I don't have Apple, so I mean, this is really my first venture into doing this in sort of a collaborative, multi-person situation. And it may be intimidating to newcomers, is what I'm saying.
Speaking of like bringing in more people, even maybe perhaps outside the Cardano, but also the same topic, hey, how do we share resources or materials or education? Would it, like, if somebody wants to come in, what should it be the process of, hey, should we allow them to join in, or they, or like who has to have the word on it, and who has to know before, hey, don't bring a university professor in here or something?
And is that answer different if it's 12 or 144 or 1,444?
Yeah, we don't want to be the magnet for all the lonely people in crypto.
But we want to be inclusive.
I'm a lonely crypto person.
Not anymore.
Exactly. I'm glad you guys magnetized me.
So the goal is for now to just mingle with people who reach out to us instead of we reaching out to everybody else.
Well, I think if we put it out there, anybody who's looking to pursue it, at least the knowledge of what it is, and allow people to come to us. I think trying to get everybody like this involved in ID Scale and in Discord in this would be mayhem. Just getting everybody outright involved.
Yeah. And there's a way to dissect even the, like, I agree for now. I think I might be the newest member here, but I agree for now, not reaching out. But when we do eventually, if we do eventually start to reach out, there's the reaching out to the community as a whole, and then there's reaching out individually to people that we suspect might be really good members of the team.
For right now, it was mostly the last decision that we reached out to people. And mostly that there's another way that people joined in, and by time they became their part already. For example, Randall. For example, Dominic. For example, Steve. For example, you, Martin, or Sosha,
But
or everything.
Like we found our own way?
Exactly.
Martin made a good point though. If you see somebody who would be of value, shop them in.
Because Randall, Drake, Steve, Sosha, all of you guys, who has introduced you? Nobody. You made your own way into it.
Might have been you.
You know, I feel really good about Dave Matthews. Maybe we should reach out to Dave Matthews. I'm
Terry
kidding.
Crews.
Do it.
I was going to say some Spartash.
Because I think this is one beauty also for the people who join in, and they see, okay, at least everything is open. And then you start to take initiative.
Yeah, definitely don't make it exclusive. Make it everybody's welcome, but don't just get the mass in just to get them in. Let the interested and the curious trickle in.
You want to mention something?
I was just proving my own point. Sorry about that. That system sounds like it would favor the aggressive interrupter.
Yeah, and we were talking about this for a little bit in the Fund 6 circle there, that just getting here is its own filter, right? And it kind of removes a lot of excessive conversation, because if you worked your way into this spot, then, you already know some things. And so going out there and grabbing people is, really taking,
that aligns with today's message. Those who are bold enough to knock will be granted admission.
Exactly.
I posted an incomplete invitation for people who are interested in talking about proposals to the Cardano community board. I don't know how much participation we got from that incomplete announcement, but it might be something that sits in the it sits in the space between inviting and making the fact of our availability known.
I think it's definitely important that we remain open to everybody. Absolutely. But yeah, I think organically it will form itself. I'm not a real hard thinker on things. I tend to experience that life goes on a track regardless of what your opinion is, and things tend to work out in the positive, in my opinion.
Quasar, what's with the butterfly?
It's his name for today.
He's not a bee.
Butterfly affection.
But butterflies and bees, they I think they aren't in conflict with each other.
Butterflies are actually known to be quite aggressive this time of year.
And extremely sexually virulent.
Yes. The Atala butterfly actually has I'm not going to say it.
I'll stop wincing.
All right, and with that, we conclude today's session, guys. I love y'all, and I'll see you next week. One love. Peace out.
Cheers.
I think also about the questions to be open or not. I think we always have been open, and we always will be open. There was never a barrier. There was never a challenge to take to participate.
I think it's important that the swarm is not like the town hall. That it's not structured in the same way. It's not the same experience with slight variations. That
we won't tell you.
You know what I mean? But...
Because Marta is right. I think in the town hall they arrived to capture a huge audience, but why are you there? I think it's very nice that they took already this principle that you can speak with people, that you can see the faces, because this adds always value. I think that we really have less audience, but we have some goals here anyway.
Yeah.
So it reaches different ends. Sorry.
No, it's okay. We're trying to do something, I think that's the difference. You're waiting on the information when you go to town hall, hopefully it's exciting. I've been, ever since they finally came out with the Africa special, I've been, there's nothing kind of titillating me about going to town hall.
I would like to issue a broad spectrum apology for being an aggressive interrupter. I'd like to make small comments, and I'm sorry for any sense of interruption. Mart, I would love to hear more from you.
I'm good. I didn't perceive that, Randall.
I want to interrupt someone and apologize with, but I don't know. No one was speaking, so I couldn't do my joke.
So now it's apologize round. Apologize everybody to everybody.
Come on, man.
Sorry to be human, guys.
I exist. I'm so sorry.
And sorry that I said guys, because we have a lady here also. I apologize, Martin, because you're not a guy.
I'm so offended, Felix.
I apologized too much. I'm so sorry.
Well, make it to a therapist round. Martin, it's your job now. It's your room.
I'm sorry, but I'm not going to do that.
Randall just got his Canadian passport.
It's been an inside joke.
But well, from the feedback we have already, okay, some like the sign in, some don't like to sign in, especially because I think there was one problem by email and this name stuff. So when we keep it just with a code or something like this, we can satisfy both sides.
Yeah, served a good public facing purpose for the Telegram post, but maybe in Discord, just the direct access.
Then we said it could be very interesting to have several circles with the same topic. So which topic needs to be figured out? We can make 3 chill out circles, for example. No.
Yeah, the chill out circles, I think you can spontaneously make those, like I've noticed that there have been weeks where Monday through Friday was just intense, and so if I was going to interact with the community on Saturday, I wanted to relax, but then there's other, like I haven't hardly talked to anybody on Thursday and Friday. And so today I wanted to get after it a little bit. I don't know. To me, I kind of feel mood shifts, from one week to the next based on the type and level of activity that's going on.
I'll just jump in. I'm really interested in the idea of defining new approaches for the structure of a proposal. And I know that might not be for everybody, so maybe not for the multiple rooms of the same thing, but I just wanted to throw that out there, that's of interest to me. So.
No, but actually that would be quite helpful to have like, hey, let's create a model for creating a proposal, and then we have 2 rooms, and we will have eventually 2 different types of models. Maybe we have something similar, and that would be the key source of, why they are same.
The idea of incubating potential topics that people who are arriving are interested in was a really interesting idea to me. So we don't get too narrowly focused on, well, this is the agenda. And maybe some of those topics come to fruition right away and an ad hoc circle right now. And maybe some of them are just queued up for next week.
We were kind of actually talking about a version of what you were saying there, Marta, in Fund 6 when you came in, and then we all got yanked into here. So we lost that thread.
I'll have to watch that and see it.
Yeah, I think the conversations, about the future funding rounds are, for me, they're really interesting because, like we have this window of opportunity where we can shape Fund 6, not just in terms of, what proposal categories there might be, but then actually how it's actually processed, the round itself, the different stages of a funding round. And I think we're learning fast and learning a lot. And this break with Fund 4 has kind of given us a lot of time to cogitate and what's irritating about the process. And, I'm looking forward to Fund 6 and Fund 7 because I think it'll feel a lot different. I mean, if you've been here long enough to feel the first few. I got to quit talking because then it just feels like crickets after I say something.
It's a sure sign that you made us think.
All the beautiful times we had on Fund 1.
It's not even there. How much people had you there in Fund 1? 200?
50, 47, 47 plus 1, I think. But I could be wrong with numbers. And the plus 1 was Torritzen. So,
do you think that, oh, sorry.
No. The way was that how Fund 1 actually was in the Zoom. Like everybody came on the Zoom and Tor presented, and then we had a QA, and Tor always asked, hey, who wants to come up? Who wants to share their opinion? And everybody was quiet. entire Fund 1. And as soon as Fund 2 started, people are like, why didn't you don't talk? And then Fund 3 started, and then the swarms and Gimbal Labs and all of this stuff started to take shape. So it took quite time to actually get back to this point where we are now. Yeah, so Marta, what question you had?
Do you think that and maybe this is just not the place for it, but could there be rooms where someone brought in somebody who is very experienced in developing their project? So technical person a developer could bring in a very good, more highly technical issue, so other people could just listen in and join in and learn from that too. Or maybe, is that something that could be part of Swarm, or is that just more a Gimbal Labs kind of thing?
Totally can be a part of Swarm.
That's a good question, and that's a really great idea for the Swarm. Just to have a technical oriented, circle or discussion. I really like that.
But getting that kind of person in here, I don't know, does Roberto or somebody, Kale from Gimbal Labs would have time for that in Swarm? Because I don't know that many people. Randall, don't you do development? I want to.
I do. Don't you also?
Yes,
No.
Tivo. But Tivo, you know so much.
I don't take complex issues. I do take simple issues.
OCG.
Yeah, if you could get him to come out of his rock, yeah.
He changed his name to OBG.
Yeah, this week. I was actually in, Jeremy Furster from the Cardano Foundation hosts a Clubhouse conversation on Friday nights, and I was in there last night. And, I've been there, that was the third time I'd been there, and sometimes it's actually community-oriented discussions, and sometimes it's handling a lot of newbies who want to have all these questions about Cardano. But last night, just about put me to sleep sitting there, because there were these guys, there were two different guys who did technical work in regular mainstream legacy type businesses, and they were asking the most obscure technical questions, about how the Cardano blockchain works. And oh my God, I was like, I always want to say goodbye, when I leave that space, but I never got a chance, and I had to just, just disappear on them, because it was just too boring. I couldn't, because I didn't even know what they were talking about. And hanging out in this space, I've gotten pretty cocky about technical, I think I get it. And then I'm in a conversation where it's like, what does that even mean?
So I guess, the questions, that's what I was thinking, if it was about something, not just like a open, let's talk some technical bizarre, trying to figure things out, but more like, I don't know, like something interesting in the technical thing that someone's discovering, something interesting. So it could be understood on multiple levels. So something like that. But it was also, I don't know. I've had some conversations in the Swarm that were like that. So I don't know. So
I had a phone call this morning right before the Swarm started, and it's this friend of mine, and he knows what I'm doing, but he's not invested in blockchain or anything like that. But he's a big news watcher. And I haven't paid attention to what happened to that pipeline hack, that ransomware attack on that pipeline going up the East Coast. And he was telling me that the government said that they had broken into this Bitcoin wallet and taken the coins. And I was like, what? And I did a search on this, and I was like, and I went to the Justice Department website, and they literally said that they they figured out the private keys on this Bitcoin wallet where these hackers, you know, receive their money. And I was just like, you know, with my friend, I was like, Bill, you know, if that doesn't tell you that this was a scam and a setup just to have publicity, you know, nothing will, because I do not believe that. There is no way. There is no way the FBI figured out the private key for a Bitcoin wallet. And, you know, but I'm nobody, you know, like I can't prove that to him, but it made sense to him. But I just couldn't believe that. You know, I mean, this was days ago when this was posted, and I just, you know, that cannot be possible. From the way I understand private keys, that is impossible.
No, it's the continuous propaganda that's sold to us about just to dismiss a new system. It's kind of like the horse and wagon company telling you that combustible engines aren't a thing.
Those things pollute, they're going to say.
That's like when they say that they've caught some terrorist, you know, who's going to make bombs, and it turns out the guy who was giving the terrorists the materials to make the bombs was actually an FBI agent. You know, I mean, that's what I got out of this news cycle. But you know, that's just so over the top blatant that I can't believe that the community, you know, the overall crypto community hasn't been, you know, bullshit, you know, crying bullshit about it.
I don't know that news, but like getting private keys isn't so magical. Like police, the way they work, they do get recordings of hard drive, and they do have developers whose job is to just create Python scripts to unbundle all of that crap and try to find keywords of key and private and pictures and or untitled and like weird stuff, and then browse through all the information they get from the sources.
It's okay to use malware if you're the good guys.
What, like you can use malware when you're a good guy, you said?
I just posted the Justice Department's article about it on their website. You know, like sometime in, you know, later in a day or two, whenever we could have a chat about it. But you know, it stinks to high heaven to me.
Okay. One example from like Marta asked technical stuff. I try to give an example from my current work because that is as much technical I can go. Since I'm in a position where I can decide how an enterprise resource planning products should look like, how the counting should work, how the warehouse should work, how sales and purchase orders, all these documents should be created. My technical expertise is not that I know what code is written on where and what is sent, but more about the process that how to sell a product. First, you need to buy it. Who do you buy it from? You buy it from like businesses, but in order to buy it from businesses, they might have different locations where you can put it. So like structuring the information to like the flow, like asking questions. So is that kind of technical thing you were thinking, or more like a specific thing what I started at the start, where like, okay, when you're creating a product, how it appears in your database, what tools are used, what and etc.
I was thinking, I guess, more like how is the the IPFS, like some example in that, if there was and it could be structured in a way that was, philosophical, but also because I don't think anybody who is new could structure some technical content about that with any kind of perspective, and it's not also to ask, it's not also to answer questions necessarily of the group from someone who doesn't know anything, like I might be somebody like that, right? But it's more to sort of, and so there might ensue a conversation between the person who's working on a problem like that and another person who's at their level technically. But we could be like, others could be like sort of listening. That's how you learn. Then you learn, oh, there's a new word there. Now I'm going to go out and investigate on my own that new word. Because I think that's a way that people learn. And I think that a lot of times the barriers to that kind of learning can get pretty steep if you don't know the language at all. So it's kind of a way to introduce people. And also, I think there's also philosophical questions within that. I mean, there's things like that one could take away. You wouldn't have to have that conversation right then, but there's, there's interesting questions that can emerge from those kinds of observations. So that's what I was thinking.
Definitely. You should join Gymbalab's playgrounds because sometimes there are these discussions going around, like they have panels for exactly what is IPFS and what is wallet, and like going really technical and structural and sticking to the white paper in a sense, but not showing the white paper.
Martin also playground session already.
What, Felix?
I said you have been in the playground sessions already.
Oh yeah, no, so I was thinking of it something a little bit different than that. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I get you.
Yeah. Technical expertise in a certain topic is indeed hard to find.
And for me, it's also one thing, for example, in regard of playground session or the town hall, there are already stages who exist now. And for example, when I say, okay, when we throw highly technical questions here, where Gymbalabs is a much better place for it, I don't want a situation where we maybe drop content where they are much more effective than we are, maybe, in our place when playground is designed for this already.
Yeah, and I was
aren't we just going into it too deep? I mean, it's fine, right? If anybody is like, yeah, I want to throw like a technical / philosophical discussion in the swarm, then sounds like a fun idea. I think it's a nice idea. If there's somebody who wants to do it, sure. But I mean, we're not in the. That's what we already decided earlier, right? We're not in the. Everything is completely scheduled, so yeah, it's nice. Those kind of discussions, or yeah, I like there's some technical foundation, but it is more also like, what's the implication of this in the larger scale? And that's a conversation that anybody can take part of. They are nice. I think sometimes the chill out turns into that, but then there's also.
And it's perfectly my cue, right? To say, let's resurface. Like you say, you go too deep into these conversations. It's important to resurface.
But a regular pattern wouldn't be
nice
so
plug,
bad.
nice plug.
For new folks to rely upon a once-a-month roundup of all the latest developments in the Cardano space from someone who really knows a thing or two, I would really love to see something like that to get a handle on what changes are coming and what the implications are. I think that'd be really neat.
I think that is a call.
Everyone
for
can
alliance.
rely on it.
What, Tivo?
I think this is something like your own G said, that like all these different groups who are doing and building something already and have and there should be a place who could wrap them up and say, here are the developments, here are the already done things in
like town hall.
Town hall is like bi-weekly, and it does, I don't know, the format comes off weird. Like I do see these cohort slides and I still do see, but when I look at the Gymbalabs, for example, the weekly update, what they do, this is just the next level thing, and I would prefer to see that in a town hall, or at least a link to that. So it's like much more.
But
Like
that's
3
more
hours is my limit
marketing.
too.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
That's more marketing. It's sort of more marketing oriented, you know, it's like, it's kind of made into kind of a package. But versus like you could have something where more subtle, you know, more a little subtle thing that's, I may be having a hard time articulating it, what I mean, but
yeah, I think even it would be interesting to have like a person, like I do scroll down in the Project Catalyst Discord once in a while and read topics, and I see new threads popping up sometimes, and perhaps this is also a creation. Hey, there's a new thread coming up, and the topic agenda seems to be this, and that is the development, and perhaps somebody is likes to see once a month that, hey, these topics popped up here and here and here, and if he wants to go back, then he can go. But I don't know, it's like so much work to bring all of that together, and how would we organize to do it in a group? Like, hey, you take this channel, you take this server, and then we could get some good results perhaps. If we put it all in one person, we get only one perspective how to organize it.
Well, so maybe that's then because that sounds like a job, you know. And earlier, I think you were looking for feedback for what kind of roles should there be in like a swarm, right? Maybe somebody's just collecting information and sharing it. It's a very important role. Just you know, doing the recordings or sharing and collecting, and I think besides organizing, just the outreach for something like a swarm is. I'm not like that's not something I would want to do, but just for the raw feedback.
Sensing what topics are
Yeah,
relevant in the community and not solved in the community.
See, that's a problem. You have to. It's really difficult in these like open, you know, and everybody take the lead. It's like you're so dangerous to suggest anything because it's like, yeah, sounds great. You should do it, you know, because who else is gonna do it, right?
But that's actually a good way to create roles. Like, hey, this is something it's very valuable. I wouldn't mind looking at some kind of organized structure of saying who created what. Like, why not? It would be a visually very nice thing to see. So, and like creating a role that, hey, this is a librarian role, or like we do have this circling mural board where we do have this Project Catalyst, and write down that this is what they do and this is the outcome, and perhaps somebody is interested. Because I know people that are just going around and like just stitching things together, and they just, their big vision is just to create the big picture. They don't even understand, but they know there are people who like to just watch these just for hours and write something out of that, and they just like to stitch them together.
I would love to see the, I'll call everything you just said, Tavo, a job description. I would love to see a job description for the role called Felix.
Yeah, go fuck yourself.
It worked. I got a rise out of you.
Fantastic.
We are humans. But no, I think this road stuff is quite important. Yes.
But there's a lot of things that you do and a lot of outcomes that you enable. And the more of the people that we have that to a certain extent that are actively doing those kinds of things, that increases the health of our community. My opinion. There you have it. Go fuck yourself.
Thanks, Random. But I think this counts for everybody. I think it's just that some people, they find their place or they take their place, and some others don't have yet their place. And
but
for me, the
like
most
having
important is just to say, hey, okay, for those who want the place, what can we do to offer this place to them?
And having some kind of template of information, like Tavo is describing, a structure for understanding what methods and what outcomes, or really what outcomes and optional methods people are using to satisfy that thing that we call the role. That's a really powerful mechanism.
So I'll just throw this out. So you know Faraday, Michael Faraday, scientist Michael Faraday. Okay. Well, anyway, so he, in his science is very complex in terms of how he understood things. But then he would do these lectures where he would, like, for instance, talk about the relationship of the wax to the wick of a candle, and then how that was interdependent, and then would describe the subtleties of that. So, but that came from his own work and his science, the way he understood the world. So it was like sort of like talking to, and that's what I mean when I'm talking about if there could be a way to have that kind of structural conversation, since people who are building are deeply into their world, like he is, and then also, but then there's a way to articulate it on a higher level, but in a way that is meaningful to other people, and then people who are deeply involved also get meaning from that.
That's a pretty special person that can do that well. So we can make it part of our culture to identify and celebrate those people, but it's hard to mandate.
I don't think it is. I think that you just have to have openness, space for it. I think that it's once it's like in any of these groups where we start talking, and then everybody's they get on one phase and then they switch to another. It's just you have to give an okay, that it's okay to be a messy talker. It's okay. It's okay to be a messy thinker, that sort of thing.
Thank you, Martha.
I'm so glad you said that, Marta. I'm a messy thinker and a messy talker. I sometimes think faster than I talk, and then my speech is jumping ahead and it doesn't make sense to anyone.
Not this problem.
Yeah, we all, I guess it's a human thing.
Yeah, especially when you all jump around things and you have too many things to do. Yeah, that's current. That's why I better sometimes be quiet listening, because even if I have a good idea, I have to make sure that I provide them in the right time. So thank you, Martha.
Yeah, one feedback from the CA school session that Marta also, like when we were talking about how do we process the idea, how do we make it a good proposal, she also mentioned that sometimes like tamping down on the idea itself could lose its meaning and purpose, and so gotta be careful how do you refine the idea so you don't lose the end goal or the passion behind it, what was when it was started.
And equally, being able to recognize that the idea leads to some outcomes, and the outcomes are what's hugely valuable, and you could do it 2 other ways too. And now you have 3 ideas, and that's more likely to succeed than just 1 idea.
And also for the assessors, how do they perceive an idea? How can they perceive it if they have no reference point for it, right? Similar problem.
Oh, I just reminded me other government big mural board, like, oh, that's a reference point. But when you show it to somebody, it's like, what the hell is that thing?
Reference point for overwhelmed confusion.
But there's genius inside.
And that's awesome. Yeah.
I quite often use it, like when I see a proposal and it's like, it belongs in this section, and like, why? Because it's a process where it starts from that, and then 30 minutes later, and now your proposal.
Oh, and it's just so Derek, what you have dropped for question there. This is interesting, I think. On a similar note, are there things we do that are bad for the community?
like assuming everybody in the Israel group is Jewish. I didn't mean to fucking like, oh, damn it, Derek.
But this is just because you're Mauritian and you have your own culture.
Like, yeah.
It's like you say, you're German. Your president is Hitler, no? Yeah.
Right, you're from Florida.
Yeah. I'm just going to say that so I don't embarrass my home state of North Carolina. Yep, I'm from Florida. I'll save the North Carolina
Are you from that
pride.
Florida man? I've heard a lot about it.
Yeah, that is me.
Some said some are thinking too fast for their voice, and Derek, his fingers are too fast for his brain.
That's why if you see me with a pen or pencil, watch out. I'm writing something good.
I do like this. That's why they. I mean, it's not why they designed, but it's why they designed. But it's not. But it is. A similar reason why we have the QWERTY keyboard, right? Because it's the slowest. Like you mix up the letters in such a way that it takes you longer to be able to type on them. Was the theory when they came out with the typewriter, so people don't jam the typewriters by typing too fast.
Wait, what?
That's interesting.
They got us. Good job, guys.
Now we've learned the QWERTY keyboard so fast that we've it's just as yeah. But so TiVo, I think you didn't catch it. It was that they designed the layout of the keyboard, the most common one with Q, W, E, R, T, Y, etc. Because when typewriters were first invented,
I did catch that. I was like,
right.
what the fuck? Why? What, like, I didn't know their purpose was to slow down people.
Yeah, it was a mechanical problem with keyboards. If people typed too fast, the typewriter jammed.
The truth is, it was actually designed for who's the astrophysicist, the life of everything, or the history of everything. Stephen Hawking.
Oh yeah.
It was the keyboard on the roof of his mouth that he used to type.
No, at least
there you go again, Quasar.
North Carolina.
Do you alienate people? Yes.
At least no Steve Hawkins. He's still able to writing, but with his eyes. It's the only organic it's the only organ what he can move again. So he's writing with his eyes. They made their own application for him.
QWERTY is a perfect example of why we should get our shit together right now before someone else puts a broken standard forward.
I like that. I like that. That's good.
Today morning I had interesting discussion with girl about Element. I was I don't know. I hope you're not against drugs, but there is like a nitrate oxygen what you can actually inhale, and you will get like a 10 seconds weird experience.
Wow.
Nitrous oxide laughing gas.
They're called whippets.
Yep.
Yes, they're called whippets.
And I was like saying I'm gonna get like O2 to myself, but I forgot that it's N2O, and this discussion went into the like this. I don't know what it's called. Oh yes, fuck. Well,
yeah. Felix, can
totally
you
legal.
delete most of this, please?
Yeah, in our country it's illegal. So on the cartridges it said don't inhale it, so maybe it's not. Anyway, so the discussion went into this periodic tables, and it came me like interesting idea of could we be able to put proposals into periodic table, which is like by the type. Like the type is easy, it's an idea, it's a business idea or something. But what is the second layer? Is it the weight? Is it the market? Is it the price? Or even something else? Is it the people amount or the like roles or like what could be the second layer, and like what you
I
think
can-
about like making
I
a
can do
heat
that
map?
for you. Are you talking about the periodic table of elements?
Periodic table of proposals.
All right, so if you can go to the NAICS, just Google NAICS. It's the North American Industry Classification System.
I typed 2 letters.
NAICS. All right, and?
Ooh, okay, found it. Mining, retail trade. Okay, I see a list of codes.
Yeah, so just take a look at that and give me 1 second. I'm going to give you the history of mankind real quick.
So your idea is to organize by this type, like it's a mining. So if your proposal is about mining, then let's put it in that category. If it's a retail trade, we put it in that category.
Exactly. Exactly.
But what dimensions are interesting for proposals, right?
Yeah, for making the world better, there's certain functions required in any society. So whatever proposals don't fit a need to make a healthy village, your second layer could be its contribution to the community, so in a way.
This is community. This is
Well, and
finance.
once you mix, okay, so your periodic table, horizontally and vertically, you've got groups and periods, if I'm not mistaken. Let me look at the periodic table real quick. Ultimately, let me give you the history of mankind. I'm looking at code 11, then we're going to go from 11 to 21, 23, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. We started with agriculture, forestry, fishing, hunting. So that's a bunch of people out in the woods picking berries. Next thing you know, the guy's picking the berries. He bends over, berry falls in a hole, and now he's digging in the ground. Then that's mining. After that, he's got his hand in the ground, and then he's got a tree, puts a rock and the wood together. Here becomes the utilities, your tools. And once we get tools, then we start building shit. Once we start building shit, we're like, hey, we need to make stuff to put in these buildings. So there's your manufacturing. After we manufacture all this shit, we're like, oh no, we've got too much stuff. We need to do wholesale trade. So there's where your wholesale trade comes in. The next, we're like, shit, we've got all this. We can't just wholesale it. We got to retail some of it. Now retails went too far. Like, oh man, we got to find a way to transport and store this stuff. So there's your transportation and warehousing. After that, like the people are like, you know what, we've got a whole lot of information, a lot of data. Let's create a new industry called information. After that, we're like, shit, what do we do with this information? You know what? Banking and insurance. Let's create finance and insurance. After that, you know what? Nobody can really afford to own any of this stuff. So here's your rental and leasing. After that, you get the scientists and architects and engineers come in. That's your professional, scientific, and technical services community. Then you get management of companies. Then you got to get the managers have to have administrative support. And somehow we just throw waste management and remediation services in there. Then we're like, shit, what do we do to babysit everyone? Let's create educational services. Now everybody's, learning, working, renting, getting sick, and they're dependent on everything. So we have to create healthcare and social assistance. After that, like, let's now distract everybody. So here comes arts and entertainments and recreation. Then, like, middle of the play, we're like, oh, people want refreshments. Let's all go out to the lobby. Here's your accommodation and food services. Finally, they come to, you know what? I think we've covered everything. Let's just create this second category called other services, except public administration. Public administration is governance, and that's why we are here now, talking governance with Cardano. So the history of mankind and a way to look at ourselves in time.
Damn, and you can even go deeper in that. I didn't. where this number of establishment only USA, or like where these numbers come from? Like like arts, entertainment, and recreation, only 400.
North America, so Mexico, US, and Canada. I think Mexico.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's actually interesting.
So that's the labor. Like this is the job. This is the labor part of it. Now on the other side of this, there's a whole nother code for products, tangible goods that follow the same chronology. So if you match them up with your groups and then your periods on a periodic table, you can mix and match services and products, create molecules, and there's your periodic table of catalyst proposals. And because it's based on atomic theory, they're all bound to be great.